Hi everyone, and welcome back to another 7 questions in 7 minutes session. I'm Jordan Early, and once again, I'm joined by David King, the CEO and founder of Tribal Habits. How are you today, Dave?
I'm excellent today. Jordan, how are you feeling?
Yeah, really well. Dave, today I want to talk about induction. Obviously, 2020 has been a pretty strange year for induction.
Yeah.
Coronavirus has seen a lot of businesses slowing down, a lot of people working from home now as well. But there are industries that are booming, and we are starting to see some sort of normality come back into the market. So I think induction is something that's going to be at the forefront of people's minds in the coming weeks and months. So I think today would be great to just chat through your 7 ideas or 7 benefits that you think companies get about taking a structured approach to an employee induction program. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. I think you're dead right too, where employees might be feeling disengaged, and if you're a new employee, that's even more important at the moment.
Yeah, I think we'd have a lot of new employees going straight into remote working and work from home, which is, could be challenging.
Tricky, yeah.
Okay, so why don't you get us started with your first point?
Okay, let's go. So I think the first one, let's take what you've said there, is the benefit of a structured program is to make employees feel welcome and respected. And I think this is where we need to differentiate between onboarding and induction. So onboarding is form filling. It's really for the benefit of the organization, making sure they have all the right details and information to complete all their forms and populate data. Induction's for the benefit of the employee. So it's the training on the organization and getting up to started in their role. And the fact that you have a structured program makes someone feel welcome. It gets them off on the right foot. It helps them learn all the little acronyms and things, and makes them feel like that the organization actually welcomes and wants new employees.
Absolutely. And how do you think, what sort of tasks do you think people can be doing in those initial days to make people feel welcome? I think that's the challenge that we're trying to overcome initially.
Yeah, look, we can probably split it into 2. There's probably some role-based tasks we can talk about here, but there's just organization things you need to learn. So, how does the copier work? Where do I log in? What are the clothing standards? What are all the acronyms? Who's who in the zoo? There's a lot of stuff there that is some of it's a bit boring, some of it's a bit administrative, but some of it's also just helping you settle in. And a lot of that can be automated through online training, delivered consistently, the same way, every time, without taking up time of your existing staff to do that. You could even deliver it to people before they rock up. So when they get there on the first day, they know a little bit about that and they're not feeling so intimidated or so out of place when they get in there. There's just a lot of that initial what is going on here information you need, which induction can provide.
And I think that information as well is really useful, not just in those first few days, because it may be a month before you need to use the photocopier.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, that's right, I can figure out how to work it without looking silly in front of everyone.
I agree. And I think there's, whenever you turn up to a new role, there's always that feeling of, I don't know what's going on here, or they keep using terms I don't understand, and it makes you feel very apart.
Yeah. So what's point 3? What's your next big point?
Well, I think, if you feel a bit apart, or if you don't have a good start, then retention can be a bit of an issue. And so there's a couple of stats around any relationship between induction and employee retention. So Brandon Hall Group did a study that suggests that if you have a really good induction process, it improves your new hire retention by about 80% and employee productivity by 70%. Robert Half Group found that about 60% of Australian hiring managers have had an employee resign during the probation period due to poor induction processes. And 43% of managers lost new employees within a month of hiring them. These are all terrible statistics if you don't have an induction program, because you make a massive effort in hiring someone. Recruitment costs, advertising costs, time spent on stuff, huge amount of costs. If they fall apart in the first month because you didn't do the final step, which is induct them well, then that's a real shame.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting time when someone starts a new job, because they've obviously been looking at other jobs in the market. So their CV's out there. So you need to make sure that you really bring them into the company in a good way.
It is. And if they're going to leave, it's easier for them to leave in the first 4 to 6 weeks before they've made strong connections and while they've still got ideas for other jobs. So, you've really got to make them feel welcome.
So I think the next thing that would be good to discuss is just around setting examples and setting a pathway for the future around communication lines, and how can we set that up during the induction phase?
That's a good point. So I did mention earlier that induction's for the benefit of the employees, but to be honest, it's benefit for the employees and the organisation. So part of the induction process should be two-way communication between new employee and organisation. Where are they struggling? What's not working well? What information now do they need? And that's also feedback for the organisation to use in a continuous improvement loop on their induction processes. And, it'd be great for someone who's 8 weeks in to go back to the new person who's starting and tell them what they need to know. So if that person 8 week in can feed that back to the organisation, so the organisation can improve the learning, then that's a great thing as well.
Absolutely. I think this next one follows on from that point and some stuff we've spoken about earlier, which is how do we use an induction process to get a sense of inclusivity within an organisation and make people feel like they're at home?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So we mentioned this fact that if you don't know the acronyms or where things are, you can feel a bit out of place. And often, the worst thing turning up in a new job is you turn up at a new job and no one really seems ready for you to be there or interested in you being there. There was a report last year in Australia in 2019 called Workplace Loneliness that suggests up to 40% of Australian employees feel lonely at work. So they don't feel included. They don't feel like they know what's going on or part of the rhythms. And definitely inductions are part of giving you the organizational rhythms, the organizational language, becoming part of that tribe, which I could probably say, given we're at Tribal Habits, becoming part of the tribe and feeling, you're a part of something and not feeling isolated.
Absolutely. And another thing we hear a lot about is certainly from a HR point of view is how do we win the talent battle? And I think onboarding is a vital part of that. So it'd be great if you could talk through some ideas there as well.
Yeah. If you think about things like Glassdoor.com or even on Seek, or a lot of these websites now have reviews from current and former employees about your organization. If you've got a bad induction and you're losing people right there at the start, they're going on to Glassdoor and they're leaving reviews saying, don't go here, terrible induction, it's horrible. Other people who are in the organization seeing that happen aren't feeling good about that either. They're wondering why people are coming and going while they're staying. Managers who are being asked to do the same training again and again for every single person, getting bored and finding it inefficient, they're not feeling good either. So this all kind of does filter back into your general reputation. Having a great induction program, having that out in the market as a thing. When you join this organization, there's a great experience you go through. You don't feel lonely. You don't feel out of place. You feel productive. I think when new employees feel productive, they feel like they've made a good decision. Everyone wants that in the new role. They want that moment in that first weeks or months where they're like, hey, I'm actually adding value.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes you feel really good about your decision. So anything an organization can do to shortcut that's not just good for the organization, it's great for the employee as well.
Yeah, it's interesting as well that there's so much more transparency around that space now as well with things like Glassdoor, and you kind of know what you're getting into, I think. Yeah. It's not only what the HR manager has told you through the recruitment process, you can go off and do all your homework online to find out what's coming. So
Exactly.
People get it right. So that's 6 points, Dave. What's your seventh and final point?
Well, the seventh one's probably the obvious one, which I've left till last, that if you have a structured online employee induction program, you can save a lot of time and money. So instead of having that same team leader give the same bit of induction to every new person who comes in, and throughout your company that multiplies out, everyone's got to do the same bit of training for every new person. They can spend that time to create online training once and write, and then have it delivered 24/7, any location, consistently. There's just a massive scale factor here. And even if it's not scale, it's consistency. It's the same way every time to the same person. It's ready straight away. So it doesn't matter if someone joins and the manager's not immediately available, or they join in a remote location, they've got that information there straight away. And the effort to set this up, particularly in a platform like ours, like in Tribal Habits, really isn't that much more than the initial effort to run the training once for someone. Yeah. So your return on investments is super high. It's super easy to get a return here.
Yeah, excellent. I think that plays into my close here as well, which is I think like every business process, induction, it needs software, supporting software to make sure it runs smoothly. If you're looking for induction software, Tribal Habits is a great option. It's really worth checking it out. So jump onto travelhabits.com. A lot of the information that we've spoken about today is contained in a guidebook, which you can find on travelhabits.com about induction training. So check that out. There's all of this and a lot more in there as well. So without taking any more time, thank you very much today, Dave. That was excellent.
Yeah, no worries, Jordan. Thanks for having me again.
Excellent. And goodbye, everyone. We'll see you all soon.